Every night at 3:33 a.m., I received a text from my own number. Don't look behind you. I laughed it off as a prank until one night, curiosity got the best of me. I turned around to see a shadowy figure standing in the corner of my room, grinning with hollow eyes. The next morning, my phone had a new message. I told you not to look. Terrified, I deleted the message and tried to convince myself it was a nightmare. But the following night, the text came again at 3:33 a.m. Tonight, I'll be closer. I stayed awake, heart pounding, staring at the clock. As the minutes ticked by, I felt a cold breeze brush against my neck. Unable to resist, I glanced over my shoulder. This time, the figure was at the foot of my bed, its grin wider, its eyes darker. I screamed and turned on the light, but the figure vanished. My phone buzzed again. Tomorrow, I'll be next to you. I couldn't sleep. The next night, I sat in the living room with every light on, my phone clutched in my hand. At 3:33 a.m., the message arrived. I'm right beside you. I froze, feeling the air grow colder, hearing faint whispers. Slowly, I turned my head. The figure's face was inches from mine, its breath icy, its eyes void of any humanity. Before I could react, it whispered, "You can't escape." The lights flickered and then went out. Darkness consumed the room, and I felt a bony hand grip my shoulder. When the sun rose, my friends found me in a corner, phone clutched in my hand, eyes wide with terror. The final text read, "You're mine now." They say I still text myself at 3:33 a.m., but no one dares to check if I'm really there. Months passed, and the texts never stopped. Each night at 3:33 a.m., a new message would appear. "You're mine forever. I see you. You can't hide." My friends grew concerned, noticing my gaunt appearance and distant behavior. They tried to help, but I pushed them away, fearing the entity might target them next. Desperate, I sought help from a paranormal investigator named Dr. Alan Graves. Skeptical at first, he agreed to spend the night in my house. Armed with cameras and recording devices, he set up equipment all over my room. That night, we waited in silence as the clock ticked closer to 3:33 a.m. When the time came, my phone buzzed. "He's here." Dr. Graves's eyes widened as the temperature dropped, and the room filled with an eerie whispering. His cameras captured flickering shadows moving toward us. The investigator demanded that the entity show itself. The lights dimmed, and the figure appeared, standing directly behind Dr. Graves. Before he could react, the entity lunged, and Dr. Graves screamed, collapsing to the floor. I rushed to his side, but it was too late. His eyes were vacant, and a chilling smile was frozen on his face. My phone buzzed again. "You're next." Panic surged through me as I fled the house, leaving everything behind. I moved to a different city, changed my number, and tried to start anew. But on the first night in my new apartment, my phone buzzed at 3:33 a.m. "You can't escape." The messages continued, relentless. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, consumed by fear. One night, exhausted and broken, I decided to confront the entity. I stood in front of the mirror at 3:33 a.m., phone in hand, and whispered, "What do you want?" The reflection twisted, and the figure emerged, grinning. "Your soul," it hissed. The last thing I remember was the cold grip on my arm, pulling me into the darkness. They found my phone in the empty apartment, still receiving messages every night at 3:33 a.m. The final message read, "Welcome to the darkness." Years later, my story became a local legend, a cautionary tale told to scare children. The apartment remained vacant, no one daring to stay after dark. But one night, a young couple, unaware of the history, moved in, drawn by the unusually low rent. They laughed at the warnings, dismissing them as superstitions. On their first night, they went to bed without a care. At 3:33 a.m., their phones buzzed simultaneously. Groggily, they checked the messages. "I'm back." Confused, they looked at each other, then around the room. The air grew cold, and the lights began to flicker. Shadows twisted on the walls, forming the sinister figure that had haunted me. It stood at the foot of their bed, its grin wider and more menacing than ever. Paralyzed with fear, they watched as the figure moved closer, its hollow eyes fixed on them. The woman's scream echoed through the apartment, but no one outside heard it. The lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. The man fumbled for his phone, the screen illuminating a single chilling message: "Welcome to the darkness." The next morning, The landlord found the apartment empty. The couple vanished without a trace. Their phones lay on the bed, both screens displaying the same message: "You can't escape." From that day on, anyone who stayed in the apartment at 3:33 a.m. received the same message. No one stayed longer than a night, and the legend grew darker. Some say the figure is still waiting, always ready to claim another soul. And if you ever hear your phone buzz at 3:33 a.m., remember, don't look behind you.